All right, folks. Welcome in here to the latest edition of the Last Word on Sports Media podcast. I am merely the somewhat capable host, TJ Reeves. And look who's back with me here on this edition as we do it live on social media and on YouTube. Hello to the Mike Gill of the Sports Bash in Atlantic City, weekday afternoons on the ESPN radio affiliate. Good. I missed you. Good to be back with you. I know you have been busy. You have been away. The folks should know that Mike is a hardcore youth baseball coach, and the team is doing well. You're going to have an update for us, so that's taken up a lot of your summer here in June and July. But I'm glad you're back with me because we've got All-Star Game to talk about. We've got Scotty Scheffler saying, what does it really all mean if you're the number one golfer in the world, and almost implying that he may not continue to play golf much longer while they have the British Open this week. We have Samantha Ponder speaking out for the first time since ESPN fired her a year ago on the eve of the NFL season as one of their prominent hosts of their NFL coverage. A ton to get to in the sports media world. Hello, Mike Gill. Good to see you. Good to be back with you.
Yeah, you're right. I do coach. This is like my 20th year. We are going to the Mid-Atlantic Regionals next week. We had games all last week, so a lot there. Summertime at the Jersey Shore, too. We're busy. There's a lot happening. There's a lot going on. But, hey, 1 week from today, we are live on a Wednesday. If you're listening to the podcast recorded, it's Wednesday morning. The Eagles and the NFL teams will be on the practice field at this time next week. The Eagles report on Tuesday. They practice Wednesday morning at 10 a.m.
I know the NFL is going to start cranking up here with training camp and preseason. College football is having their media days all over the country for the different conferences. Steve Spurrier always called it, Mike, talking season. This talking season that we got right now going on for the Big 12, the SEC, the Big 10, the ACC. The Pac-12 has a new incarnation coming. All the college football everywhere will be here before we know it. So that's all revving up. Football, though, still probably about a month away from the preseason games and then eventually the college football games that start at the end of August. We're in a little bit of a lull. We understand that, but listen, there's no shortage of sports media topics. Shake up for Fox Sports and Fox Sports 1's programming lineup. There are numerous personalities who are out. We're going to talk about that. WNBA All-Star Game this weekend takes a huge hit. It's in Indianapolis, and Caitlin Clark, Mike Gill, is hurt again or is still hurt. So we're going to talk about all of those subjects. As you see on the screen, if you're with us on social media, make sure that you hit that like button on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed to Mike Gill's YouTube channel. The same way, share it out on social media, on Twitter, X, etc., and find the podcast. If you're seeing us, we are a pod as well. Apple, Spreaker, Spotify, wherever you get podcasts, Last Word on Sports Media podcast. If you are only hearing us on the podcast, come find the video show as well. All right, so do you want to begin with the Midsummer Classic, the only real relevant sporting event of the last 48 hours or so? Sorry, WNBA. Sorry, NBA Summer League. Is the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, isn't it? And the Midsummer Classic, the 95th edition, was played in Atlanta, in my region, in the South, last night. What are we calling this thing, Mike? They called it on social media the home run tiebreaker. They also
swing off.
The swing off as a nickname. Are we going with swing off that decided the All-Star Game last night for the National League? You want to go with swing off? The swing off?
Yeah, I think the swing off was it. And listen, I said on my radio show Monday, I was not into the home run derby, very monotonous, too long. Yeah. But I thought the swing off, why I don't want to see it in a regular season game or a playoff game, I thought it was fun, and it would have been better had the American League players stuck around. Aaron Judge, Cal Raleigh, they all left. So Aaron Boone had to go with guys like, Jonathan Aranda from your neck of the woods. He's not a home run hitter. He's got guys, and he's just like, who's still left
Randy
here?
Arozarena. Yeah. It was interesting, and they have had this in place for a couple of years, right, in the event of the tie that they were going to go to this. And so now the National League blew a 6-0 lead. We assume that most everybody knows what we're talking about, but here's what happened. The National League was ahead 6-0 in the game. The American League eventually tied them in the top of the ninth. So when the National League did not score in the bottom of the ninth, that instituted the swing off, where 3 players were selected by the 2 managers, right? Dave Roberts, the LA Dodger manager, and Aaron Boone, the New York Yankees manager, because those teams played in the World Series. They each selected 3 players to go up and get 3 swings, and the most home runs would end up winning after those 9 swings, unless they were tied. And then I guess they had a swing-off playoff, a swing-off tiebreaker that they were going to do. But the end result, do you have the video ready to go from MLB and their coverage and their social media? Your guy, Kyle Schwarber, is the hero, as we have this for the video audience for last night in Atlanta at Truist Park. This was the last batter for the National League. He hit 3 consecutive home runs. And, Mike, what is this one-knee follow-through that we're about to see as you play the video with Schwarber on the knee, like Olay?
This is what he does when he hits one out majestically. He likes to watch it. Take a look.
All right. As the video audience is playing, he's on one knee. The audio audience is not playing it. He's staring it down. Interesting that they had their own special pitching coaches going. The Dodger pitching coach and the Yankee pitching coach going. And there you go with that's the go-ahead home run, and then the Rays' Jonathan Aranda had 3 cracks at it to try to tie, could not hit the ball out on any of those. So the National League wins. I saw some blowback on social media, but look, anything you do that's different is going to have people complaining. I didn't mind it. It's an all-star game, Mike. Your thoughts on concluding the game that way?
Yeah, I had no problem. I actually thought the players were into it. Like the fact that they had joy in their face, I thought that was cool to watch. You saw when Schwarber hit the second home run, whoever was catching, he's pointing up to the team like, yeah, look at that thing. The guys, it looked like young kids having fun. That's what you want to see in the All-Star game. The home run derby, a little monotonous. It's too long. Try to shorten that thing. I'll tell you what I said for the home run derby Monday night. From 7 to 8, do your home run derby. 1 quick hour, maybe the 5 best home run hitters you can find, maybe the 4 best home run hitters you can find. Make it 1 hour of the biggest names you can get. Then after that, I'd love to see them play banana ball for 2 hours. Have the Major League Baseball All-Stars play the Savannah Bananas in a banana ball game. You know why? Because if baseball was smart, they would say they got a marketing tool that we need to catch on to.
Yes.
Let's invite them into All-Star Weekend and play banana ball rules from 8 to 10 and see how many people watch that.
You're on to something. I love that. And again, I have to confess, I've sworn off the home run derby long ago. Even though Junior Caminero of the Tampa Bay Rays as the infielder was involved, I still wasn't interested to watch. I know that certain fans of certain teams will watch. It got around what, Mike, in the ratings? 5.5 million people to watch because there's nothing else on, and it's default on ESPN. ESPN gets 1 million people in primetime for practically any event that they show. So you start with that. I didn't watch a single second of the home run derby. It doesn't interest me anymore. But you bring up a great idea of how to expand upon it. I mean, after watching for 30 years, guys pound 15, 18 home runs in a session, I don't have to see it anymore. There's not the ooh-ah, the novelty is worn off. So I kind of like your idea that maybe they need to embrace this a little more. I don't know that MLB wants to embrace the Savannah Bananas much more because they're competition right now.
Well, guess what? You sometimes need to join the competition and say, hey, we love what you're doing. Let's play banana ball. Let's have a game.
Now, will the guy with the stilts have to play for the Bananas against the
Sure.
The guy
he's in the game.
Yeah, you got the different gimmicks that they have. I like
the golden at bat, the fan catches the ball, you're out, all that stuff. It's a 2-hour time game, so from 8 to 10, you get the home run derby from 7 to 8. From 8 to 10, you got banana ball or, whatever, you can have the bananas, the party animals and the fire, whatever the firemen, whatever they're called,
right,
have the best players from those 3 teams form one team to play the MLB All-Stars.
Interesting.
And, you play a 2-hour banana ball game.
Interesting. All right, so the couple of the technological things that I love, and they've gone to this in recent years where they have the pitcher and the catcher mic'd up and even fielders mic'd up as well. I don't know. I didn't see if they had a batter at any point mic'd up while at bat at the plate, but they may have. But in the bottom of the first inning, you had Tarek Skubla, the outstanding, I think I have the name right, left-handed pitcher for the Tigers. Not many people nationwide know him. He's more of a Tiger folk hero right now as a left-hander. They had him mic'd up Mike Gill. They had the catcher Cal Raleigh mic'd up. And so they were going through with Joe Davis and John Smoltz talking to them. What about this pitch sequence here? What are you looking to do here? And Skula would tell him, I'm going to try to get him with a change right here. Try to use the change up. And then he would throw the change up and it was down. He's like, he didn't go for it. And then he's asking Cal Raleigh, Mike Gill, he's like, do you want the curve here? And Raleigh says yes. And Smoltz goes, this is great. We got two-way communication where they don't have to give the sign. He just said, you want the curve here? And he says yes. On that. And then we even got the F-bomb when Shohei Ohtani singled into center field. Skubla let the OF go, and he didn't mean outfield for that. So it was cool. Different players being interviewed during the game while the game's going on about what they're doing. I like some of those technological advances. Again, the baseball all-star game is probably the most realistic all-star game that's left. For God's sake, the NFL's done away with the Pro Bowl. They've gone to a flag football game. The NHL, nobody understands the format anymore of what that is. The NBA, no one plays defense. No one gets in anybody's way. So baseball, at least they're trying to get people out, strike people out. Mike, do you not agree? It's the most realistic of the 4 all-star games. And
easily.
I like how they're doing the technological stuff with it. Follow up on that.
Easily, yeah. I mean, this has always been the thing. I actually liked when it counted. I thought that made it like something. Like that gave them something that the others didn't have. There was a realism behind the game. They got rid of it counting. I know some people didn't like it. The one year the Cardinals went to the World Series, they had 87 wins. They had the home field advantage. Guess what? I thought it was cool when they had something count like that. This year, I think a lot of people went up in arms when Mizorowski got named to the team. Here's a guy with 5 big league appearances. 5. Right. And he got named to the All-Star team. At that point, you're saying this is nothing but a marketing tool now. So if it's a marketing tool, you got to, find the guys like Mizorowski, social media. When he pitched last night, I'm sure everyone was kind of intrigued. He comes out, his first pitch is 102 miles an hour. You're like, whoa, right? Then he throws another one at 102 miles an hour. It's a fun game, but it's definitely still the most realistic game. You got a guy throwing 102 miles an hour trying to get you out. In basketball, you don't got guys playing defense to the top level. No. I don't even know what hockey does. They didn't even have an All-Star weekend. They went with that 4 Nations thing this year.
Yes, that was better, actually. But their All-Star game that they used for the last several years, they're breaking up into periods and different teams, and players are interchangeable, and nobody understands it. So I'm with you. I'm with you on that part. Anything else from the baseball All-Star game? Really neat tribute to Hank Aaron that they did. With the 7:15, and it was July 15th. It was 7:15, the date yesterday, and the 715th home run to pass Babe Ruth. That was a really neat on-field digital tribute with the video and the voices, and they shot the firework off as if he had hit the ball into the left center field stands. Of course, it's a different stadium in Atlanta now. It's not the old Fulton County Stadium, but still, really neat touch tribute. Baseball did well with a lot of this. Again, I realize not everybody's a baseball fan. The ratings aren't going to be anywhere near what the football, the NFL, the college football gets, but it still probably got, I would say, in the neighborhood of like 8-9 million. We were talking last week, Mike Gill, with Ken Fang, that, in the day, in the 80s and the 90s, this thing would have 20, 25, 30 million people watching. That day is gone. Mm-hmm. They're not going to ever have that anymore. But one final thought on the All-Star game from you?
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be about 7-8 million. It's not must see. I think they were saying, you're getting 25, 30 million people watch this back in the day. I do like the fact that they brought the uniforms back. I like that. So you see a guy and you're like, hey, this guy plays for the Marlins. Whereas before you hear a guy's name, you had no idea what team he was even on.
Because they look like bad softball uniforms. I'm big with that in all the All-Star games. The NBA All-Star game, the Pro Bowl, the NHL. Let them wear the jersey that they normally wear, home and away.
Yeah, the home run derby, they were wearing those ridiculous pseudo Brave uniforms, and I don't know who some of these guys are. I don't know what team you're playing for. You walk up with an AL on your chest or an NL on your chest. I don't know what team you're on.
One goal when you're marketing your product is you want the audience to know who the players are, who the stars are, so they remember it and they want to watch in the second half. Why are you doing things like putting them in a jersey where so many fans are going, I don't know who that is. Who is that guy from the Marlins? Who is that guy from the Cubs?
It's a balance. It's a balance of trying to sell merchandise, and they wanted people to buy those All-Star jerseys, but I don't know who's even wearing the All-Star jersey.
Yeah. All right, so the home run derby is up a little bit, at $5.7 million over the last couple of years, but you go back to like 2022 and 2021, the numbers are still down. I think it's time for them to rethink, do we need to have it on for 3 full hours? ESPN wants it to run the ads and bleed it. Maybe rethink another creative idea.
I gave you one. Home Run Derby,
Yes.
Banana Ball.
Banana
Hey, by the
Ball.
way, ESPN is connected with Savannah Bananas.
Yes.
So
They're
now,
paying them. They're paying them to run their games.
the
Yes.
question will be, though, TJ, will MLB, the Home Run Derby, and the All-Star Game will be on Fox, but will the Derby be back on ESPN next year? They were supposed to make that announcement at All-Star Weekend, and they decided not to name that new partner of where that Sunday Night Baseball package, the All-Star Derby Day, where that's going to go. But if the Derby stays on ESPN, hey, ESPN executives, you can use my Banana Ball idea. Derby from 7 to 8, then 8 to 10, or if you want to do 8 to 9 Home Run Derby, or even if you did a half an hour. You only need a half an hour for a home run derby. After 30 minutes of watching home runs, I'm kind of, spent on the home run. But for 30 minutes, give me your 3 best guys. Bang, I'll do that. Then give me a Banana Ball game. ESPN, you know the Banana Ball. I think you have the context. Let's get that marriage working.
I love it. All right, let's move on. And a shakeup since last you and I have been together, and even since last week's pod that we did. Where Fox and Fox Sports 1 have announced, they haven't announced it. Andrew Marchand of The Athletic reported it first, but it's not like Fox is denying it. 3 of their shows are done away with on Fox Sports 1. The most prominent one is the former Speak for Yourself that was rebranded as just the word Speak the last couple of years, hosted by the controversial Joy Taylor, who's in the middle of a couple of lawsuits. One of them has already been settled. Joy Taylor involved with that one with the former Fox personality Julie Stewart-Binks. Most prominently is the former Fox executive Charlie Dixon, who was one of the top programming guys with Fox Sports 1, where Stewart-Binks was alleging sexual harassment from him. And then there's a second lawsuit from the makeup hairdresser person with Fox, who filed a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. Nushin Faraji, is I believe how you pronounce her name. She put in her lawsuit that Joy Taylor had slept with Charlie Dixon. Here we go with the old school sleeping your way to the top. Had slept with Dixon, who's married, in order to get promoted within Fox Sports. They kept that show going in the spring and the summer, but they now are deleting the show. Joy Taylor has confirmed that the show is canceled. Her contract was apparently, Mike, already done with Fox, so she won't be retained. They got rid of Craig Carton's Breakfast Ball show, the former WFAN host, who very famously went to prison for a Ponzi scheme and for gambling addiction. Carton came out of prison, went on WFAN's afternoon show for a couple of years, then left that to do the Fox Sports 1 morning Breakfast Ball show. They've canceled that show as well as a third different show. All right, Mike, so this is not unexpected here that Fox makes these moves in kind of a quiet time in July. Give me a little more on this, on the moves that Andrew Marchand broke here and the programming shakeup.
Well, I got to honestly say, I don't think I've watched any of these shows, none of them at all. FS1, what is your plan here? What are you trying to accomplish? Do you think if you get rid of these 3 shows, you're going to bring something else in and they're going to flourish? I mean, you brought in, obviously, Skip Bayless. You paid him real money to try to do something. He was somebody that people knew from ESPN. You brought him over. That didn't do anything. You had Shannon Sharp with him. That didn't do anything. The messaging is clear here. No one's watching your channel no matter who you put on there.
Right.
So you can either keep shows on there. If you're going to try to recreate the wheel, what do you really think is going to take off on that channel? Like, what is their plan? So you just airing infomercials?
The original plan was the talk TV concept that ESPN's had during the day. They have the simulcast of Colin Cowherd's radio show, but this just into the newsroom, that's never gotten any TV ratings and still doesn't.
You know what, though? There's not a big cost in that, though. That's
correct.
The difference. There's not
Correct.
a big cost in putting that radio show on television.
There is a little, but I get what you're saying. But the other part of this is, okay, what are you going to? Maybe you're going to go to replaying games. games that you've had, which again, you could run dry on that. Maybe they go to the replaying of games, which they already do some of that during the day. I don't know what else, short of an engaging live, like radio TV simulcast, like a McAfee concept. They already have that with Colin Cowherd.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting because there's numerous NFL players like Keyshawn Johnson, Emmanuel Acho, Mark Schlereth that are all involved in these shows that are being deleted. And it's not clear if they're still going to be used somewhere else somehow, or if they're all out of a gig or not as well, with the programming shakeup at Fox Sports 1. And the biggest part of this is that second lawsuit is not settled, and it is supposed to be a blockbuster, like 8-figure lawsuit that she has for being sexually harassed by Skip Bayless, by this Charlie Dixon and others. And she alleged, this is Faraji in her lawsuit, that Joy Taylor, and she's named in the lawsuit, Joy Taylor was trying to shut down her lawsuit and telling her just to deal with it, blah, blah, blah. And that's why she outed Joy Taylor in the lawsuit, that this is what she did to get advanced at their network. So, and we should mention too, this always gets brought up, Joy Taylor is the sister of Jason Taylor, the Hall of Fame football player. And there are many who have believed that she has risen faster and more prominently because of that connection and being a good-looking female. And we'll see if she ends up anywhere else with what is clearly a black mark here on this whole situation. Anything else? Anything on that, or anything else on that we didn't cover, or shall we move on to more topics?
Well, and keep in mind, other guys that got let go, too, were Emmanuel Acho, LaShawn McCoy, Keyshawn Johnson. Keyshawn Johnson, another guy who came from ESPN. So this whole, this is like in the wrestling world where somebody works for WWE, and then the smaller promotion tries to grab them, and you're like, hey, no one's watching this guy.
But in Keyshawn's case, he had been fired by ESPN. He had been let go in one of their
this
layoff
happens
things,
a
and they
lot.
brought him in.
Right, exactly. But the point is, sometimes the brand and the promotion is bigger than the talent. There are very few talents that transcend enough that if they go from ESPN to Fox, FS1, mind you, that anyone's going to care about and leave for.
To your point, like Pat McAfee carved out a middle-of-the-day thing that got ESPN's attention, and they essentially bought his show, the production of his show. Dan Patrick has carved it out, and he's also got his own TV arm and radio arm to it. So there have been examples of people carving it out, but you're right. FS1.
Yes, but I'm talking about just grabbing talent and putting them on a new show and trying to say, hey, here's a new show. I think what FS1 should do next is the McAfee model. Maybe get the Levitard show and try to put that on, something that you don't have to pay a lot of, production to. They do the production, and you're just buying the show and putting it on there. Levitard's a show that would be available, I guess. I don't know where they are now. They have the DraftKings.
It's on the Meadowlark Media arm, their own arm. They're
but Skippers left that whole thing, so who knows where that is. Even if they are with the Meadowlark, you can go to Meadowlark and say, hey, we want to buy that show and put it on here from 10 to whatever time they're on. Is there a morning show that would make sense that they could put something on at 6 o'clock in the morning? The way the times of these shows, the Breakfast Ball, you really think you're going to call a show Breakfast Ball and anybody's going to give that a real chance? I mean, I feel terrible for Danny Parkins is a talented kid who leaves whatever he's doing to go to that show. But come on, that show's a failure right from the start when they call it Breakfast Ball.
There you go on those topics. Again, we're doing this live on social media. TJ Reeves, Mike Gill, The Last Word on Sports media show and podcast. If you're in podcast form, come find the video. If you're seeing us on video, you can take us in your AirPods, your earbuds, your Bluetooth on podcast on Apple, Spreaker, Spotify. Just look up LWOS Media, Last Word on Sports Media Podcast, to find out more. Next up, the WNBA. Speaking of All-Star games, they will have their All-Star game this weekend, and they were primed and hoping for this to be basically a massive Caitlin Clark event in Indianapolis. The problem is Clark has been injured throughout the first half of the WNBA season. She's missed time, Mike, over and over again. She's only recently come back from the latest injury. It was originally a thigh injury. It's now morphed into a groin injury. No fun. She had missed 5 games, which in the WNBA world's a lot. They only play a 40-game season. She had come back in the last couple of games, and then at the tail end of the game last night, while the baseball All-Star game was going on Tuesday night, Caitlin Clark in the game with the Connecticut Sun, playing for Indiana, injured her groin again. You could see during the game they were trying to work on her groin. They had her seated on a heated seat on the bench. ESPN was showing this. We're showing the clip now to the video audience that right at the end of the game, they basically put the game away in the final minute. She re-aggravates the groin muscle, passing the ball right there for the layup. You'll see her come down the court on the replay that we're showing here, courtesy of ESPN. And she is clearly in pain, goes to the basket stanchion, puts her head on the basket stanchion like I just aggravated it again. And she knows the ramification is more than likely not going to be able to participate in the All-Star weekend. She's almost in tears on the video we're showing for the podcast audience. But again, they had a heated seat for her on the bench. They knew she was not feeling well, not doing well. And we're watching the replay, Mike, where right there she kind of plants and makes the pass and re-aggravates the injury. And I don't think it's overstating it. This is disastrous for the WNBA. I know they got other star players, but this is the meal ticket. They're in Indianapolis. This was going to be a weekend where they were going to have millions and millions of extra eyeballs, and now it doesn't look like she can participate this weekend. I'm saying that, but go ahead. Your thoughts.
Yeah, and last year, if you remember, this got like 4 million views last, 3.5 or 4 million, the WNBA All-Star game, but they had that whole dynamic where she didn't make the Olympic team, and then she played against the Olympic team, and that like brought this huge audience. So with her not being there at all, potentially, we'll see. And you know, listen,
would they have realistically, because they have it Saturday night on ABC, would they have realistically gotten to 4 or 5 million people Saturday night on ABC? Possibly.
That's a good question. I don't know that
her playing.
With her playing, maybe, but last year I think that whole thing with her not making the Olympic team and playing against the Olympic team added some definite, like, hey, you didn't name her to the Olympic team. She should have been on the Olympic team. Now she's going to play against them and show them that she belonged. I don't know that you have that element as much as you did last year.
She was going to participate in the three-point shootout. And again, if you watch the games, and I was watching some of this while the All-Star game was going on, half of that arena in Connecticut was cheering for Indiana and specifically her. Anything she did, any basket they made, half the crowd's cheering and up on their feet. She is a transcendent player for that league. I know there are other talented players like Asia Wilson of the Las Vegas Aces who's won championships. Sabrina Ionescu in the New York Liberty won the title last year. There are other tremendous players in the league. She is a level above them, and let's see what happens with the All-Star game. You feel for her because she's trying to play through injury, obviously, and now she's re-injured again. And I wonder if it calls into question, their season is going to wrap up in about 6 weeks. How much more is she going to miss with this groin injury?
That's a tough one.
The meal ticket. Yeah, it's not
definitely. Listen, I was listening to a podcast recently. I got to try to remember. It's like 2 weeks ago. I was making a drive up to Philly, and I was listening to the podcast. Oh, it was Christine Brennan was talking about how she wrote this book and all the blowback she got on it. And she was saying how much of a, they have to take advantage of this situation now. Like, they have to take advantage, and she didn't think the league was really prepared to take advantage of this situation. And
they're clearly not. They're clearly not. We've talked about it, Mike. Yeah. They're clearly not.
How long do they have before her popularity apexes?
Yeah.
And if she's out, if she's hurt in and out of the lineup, out of sight, out of mind, you start to lose people. It's a shame because, as you said, now listen, I do not watch. I will be quite honest. I don't know that I've ever seen Caitlin Clark play a half. I just don't care enough to watch, and I understand and recognize what sort of a talent it is. I just don't have time in my life to carve out for something more while recognizing that she's a transcendent talent, and I recognize the ratings. You have way more depth and background on other players in that league. So this is not to say that there's no other good players in the league, but obviously they are not captivating an audience nearly at the level that she is.
Correct. And so, what Christine Brennan, who, again, has a 40-year career as a writer, reporter, covering women's sports, an authority on women's sports, books, author, very well noted. What she says in that book is not only are they not ready to capitalize on this, but basically they have been their own worst enemy, which we've talked about over and over again. You've got so much jealousy, petty, envy, whatever you want to call it, that it's ridiculous that they don't realize she's going to raise the money for everybody's contracts, better travel. But I mean, I'll just go through this with you for just a second and for the audience. I mean, you had so many of these teams that were flying commercially, not flying on private aircraft, staying in 3-star motel hotels, not in 5-star hotels, even for this tinier league, et cetera. The health benefits for players, the benefits for retired players, all of that in the toilet because the WNBA has been losing hundreds of millions of dollars. You now have a beacon of light. You have, like Star Wars, A New Hope. You have a chance to make more money with more attention, and you have players who are purposely trying to sabotage her. It's for their own reasons.
For every game, someone crosses her path, they should shake her hand and say, thank you for what you've done for this league. I am so glad that I am a part of this era.
Instead,
of
it's
this
the
league.
opposite. Instead, it is what can we do to call attention to ourselves that we don't need her? Oh, really? Okay. It's almost like that's the mindset of some in the WNBA that, hey, we were good players before she was here. We were a popular league. What planet are you on that they were a popular league before they were here? I mean, again, another point that needs to be made, they're playing in so many NBA arenas this season to accommodate more fans that want to come, primarily to watch who? Caitlin Clark. Yes, it's for some of the other teams that have done well, but they've been playing in much smaller second-rate arenas, second-rate travel, accommodations. The players make almost no money relative because the league has been losing money. We've spent a lot of time on this throughout the weeks, but now this is supposed to be their big moment this weekend with their All-Star game. She's not there. She's not participating, and watch what happens with the audience when she's not, as more proof of that. What do you want to move to next? How about last week on this podcast, I had Tyler Jones and Ken Fang of Awful Announcing, Tyler Jones of Chat Sports and his Jones Report podcast. And I raised to them, it is interesting that we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of ESPN dumping Samantha Ponder off of their NFL coverage, and that she had not given an interview or spoken out anywhere, where she finally has now spoken out. She gave an at-length interview to Sage Steele, another former ESPN employee, on her show and podcast. And I believe we have a clip that I sent to you of Samantha Ponder, who, again, was the host of the most prominent Sunday morning, really the most prominent pregame show ESPN has, the Sunday NFL Countdown. She was the host for several years of that show, and they dumped her with 1 year remaining on her deal. And she explains part of it is her political views and the fact that she was outspoken on social media, she believes was part of why she was ousted. So here is Samantha Ponder on Sage Steele's show and podcast, courtesy of that. You should be able to see this and hear this in her own words. We're going to play this for a few minutes, where they bring up why was she let go. And here is Samantha Ponder, formerly of ESPN. Yeah.
When the boxer Olympic situation happened and the woman that he was boxing came out and said enough, I just wrote enough is what we should all be saying.
And on Twitter.
On Twitter. And I knew when I sent that, like, this isn't going to go over well. But, like, to me, that's abuse. You have a male in a boxing ring with a female literally beating her.
Yeah.
And we're just supposed to, like, yay, in the name of inclusion. Like, no, what about her? What about her? And so I sent it, and then the next week got a text that said, can you jump on a call with this person and this person in like an hour? And one of the bosses is someone I never hear from, and I was like, this is it. But I do want to say, to be sure, I do not believe, nor have I ever believed, that I was solely fired for this. I think the model of my career at that point, of only working Sundays in the fall on Countdown, was not what ESPN wanted, and they felt like they were paying me too much money to do just one thing. And I had turned down opportunities in the past to work more and do more because of the season of life I'm in. Like, I got 3 little kids, and I'm not giving up that time with them for any opportunity. So I had been really clear on my boundaries with work. So I really don't think me losing my job was solely because of that, but the timing of it almost certainly was. And I was told after the fact, privately that most people at the top of the company did agree with me on this issue, but that there is
The trans issue.
Yes, but that there is a loud activist group at Disney, and they were not happy with me.
Very interesting. What are your takes on that?
Well, I think the way that she explained it is accurate, which, the timing of it makes it look like this is the reason. But I think ultimately she did acknowledge, and I think she's right, ESPN gets to a point where they don't want to pay someone to do one thing. They want you to be on multiple platforms doing multiple things. The person who replaced her, Mike Greenberg, Get Up. He was doing the radio show. He does the NFL draft. He was doing the NBA. He now does the draft. Right. So they want you to have versatility if you're going to make money.
Except if we have Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, we're paying 5 times, 10 times combined what we're paying Samantha Ponder, and they only do Monday Night Football NFL. That's fine. And I know you're not arguing this, but I'm just bringing it up. Dick Vitale, my God, is a legend. He helped make ESPN. Dick Vitale does one thing, and that is college basketball during the season, and that's it. They don't ask. So it just depends on who it is in certain situations. The baseball analysts that are on, they're only there for the baseball season. The basketball analysts are only there for the basketball part of it. There are certain people in personnel that does not apply to. And I have said, and I want your opinion, I believe she will eventually come back around to going after them for getting rid of her for the reasons that they did. Sage Steele went after him and got paid, primarily because in her case and in Susie Colbert's case, both females, both replaced by middle-aged white males on their job. That has lawsuit written all over it when you get rid of them.
Well, which is interesting. Which is interesting because so many people then accuse everybody of that they've shifted way too far the other way, that they're hiring, processes, or they're not giving the middle-aged guy an opportunity anymore. So who the heck knows?
The argument's been for 50 years that all of us middle-aged guys, balding, fat, whatever, that we have all the jobs anyway. I'm just saying they got rid of 2 prominent women on their most popular pregame stuff, Sunday Countdown, Monday Night Countdown, and that's what they did. And I've been waiting. Susie Colbert's been quiet through all of this for the last couple of years. Samantha Ponder just spoke out. Samantha Ponder's not hurting for money. Her husband, Christian Ponder's a former NFL quarterback, first-round pick. He was paid a lot of money. And I get what she's saying. I have different priorities. I have little kids.
Yeah. Well, she said I was offered to do more things. She didn't want to do it.
I don't think offered is the right word, probably. I think they wanted her to do more things, and she probably rebuffed it. That's me saying that.
No, I would. I think, but I guess what I would say is her admitting that in that video, would they say, hey, look, we offered her more things. She didn't want to do it. And, who knows? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised in the world we live in today if she said, hey, I'm going to do something about this. But ultimately, not surprised because the blueprint, yes, the play-by-players are different. The analysts and the hosts that they have, they're generally saying, we want you to do the car wash. We want you to do Get Up. We want you to do First Take. We want you to do NBA Live. We want you to be on the pregame, the postgame, the halftime show. And you see all of those guys generally, Brian Windhorst is on every show every single day. Dan Orlovsky's on every single show every single day. If you're one of those hosts or analysts, they generally want you to be able to do multiple. Now, if you're a play-by-player, that's a little different.
Right, and the other thing is for Mike Greenberg, for Scott Van Pelt, the 2 names that they basically kept around, they're making much more money than Samantha Ponder was making, and it's part of their deal. We're going to have you do this and this and this. Her deal was obviously just to host that show. And remember, she was part of the College Game Day show. And I believe was doing Sports Center at one point also, and then they morphed it into the NFL opportunity. They actually got rid of Chris Berman off of the NFL Countdown show and put Samantha Ponder into that role eventually to host the pregame NFL coverage. So let's see if we hear more from her down the road and whatever whatever she chooses to do. All right, few minutes left because Mike's getting ready as we do this live to do his own Sports Bash show later on in the day. He'll talk much more about Kyle Schwarber and the swing-off wins. Again, if you're seeing us live on social media, Mike's YouTube page, thank you for finding us. Hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Share it out as well. Podcast audience, come find us on social media. He's at Mike Gill Show. I'm at Buck Sideline Guy, BUC. Buck Sideline Guy for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on social media, and Mike's YouTube page is the Mike Gill Show YouTube page as well. What else here? You flashed up the Wimbledon numbers are out for the finals this weekend. There was an American female in the Saturday women's final. What did the numbers end up being from this weekend with ESPN going all out, ESPN, Disney, ABC, and showing the tennis major this weekend?
Yeah, obviously this is that time of the year where some of the, secondary sports, the Olympic sports, the high-profile Wimbledon, though, it's funny because it's those 2 weeks of the summer where if you're somebody who watches the ESPN, like McAfee show, he takes off, and it's like, oh, my God, Wimbledon's on in the middle of my day. But the Gentlemen's Championship, almost 3 million viewers. That was up 31%, and it's up over 163%, the most streamed tennis tournament on record. So people were going to ESPN Plus to watch this.
Yeah, they were streaming it, sure. Again, that number is kind of okay. ESPN by default usually has about 1 million people watching any live event. It doesn't help when we haven't had an American of any kind, even men or women, win at Wimbledon since 2016. Serena Williams is the last American female or male to win. There hasn't been an American male in this century,
no.
Mike Gill. It's unheard of.
I will say, though,
it's crazy.
2.9 million viewers in that time slot is probably it's way more than they get at that time normally.
Well, it depends on what else you would be running during that time. But, yeah, in the summer, I would agree with that. It's tennis, and Jannik Sinner against Novak Djokovic, or Sinner against Carlos Alcaraz isn't going to resonate the same way that Andre Agassi and Pete Sampras and Jim Courier did in the 1990s. Andy Roddick also with the American audience, much less McEnroe, Borg, Connors, that whole golden era of the late 70s and into the 80s of tennis the same way. A couple of more things. The Open Championship, they don't like it being called the British Open, but it is the British Open. The fourth and final golf major on the men's tour will be held at Royal Portrush in Northern Ireland early morning for the next few mornings on NBC, the Golf Channel, and the Peacock app, etc. We look forward to seeing what's going to happen. Is Scotty Scheffler going to win this? Scheffler's already won the Masters. Scheffler's already won the PGA Championship. Rory McIlroy won the Masters earlier this year. He is from Northern Ireland. Is it going to be him? Is it going to be somebody else? I thought this was interesting from a sports media standpoint, Mike, if you have it, from Scotty Scheffler. He gave his midweek press conference and was really honest about priorities and about golf and whether being the number one player in the world or the greatest golfer is the most important thing. I found this fascinating. A lot of people have jumped all over him. I wanted to play the comments here, and I wanted your take, and I want to give a take, too, on Scheffler sounding off. So this is midweek at the Open Championship press conference from the world's number one, Scotty Scheffler, where he's very open and honest about priorities here when he was asked about being number one in the world in major championships.
It's great to win tournaments. It's a lot of fun. Sometimes the feeling of winning only lasts a few seconds, and, the show goes on, and that's just how it is.
Scotty Scheffler got really existential near the end of his press conference today, and his answers to the last few questions were some of the most interesting stuff I've ever heard from a professional athlete talking about success.
There's a lot of people that make it to what they thought was going to fulfill them in life, and then you get there and all of a sudden you get to number one in the world, and then they're like, what's the point?
We've heard other guys that reach a high level of success struggle
all right, so
with
that's
this, what happens when you get to the top of the mountain.
All right, so that's Dylan Dryther, by the way, of golf.com, giving his thoughts, and he's playing the Scotty Scheffler press conference. And what Scheffler, paraphrasing, is essentially saying is that once he became the world number one and won majors, it just didn't last that long on, is this all there is? And he's not the only one in professional sports over the last few years, few decades to say when you get to the top, I have other priorities. That the euphoria of winning the Masters or winning the PGA Championship, or in this case, the British Open, the Open Championship this week, that's a short-term thing. His wife, his new son, that's more important, and his religious beliefs are more important. And that he even articulated, Mike Gill, honestly, that at the point in time where those priorities became bigger, he probably wasn't going to continue in competitive golf anymore. And so then the golf media is like, oh my God, he's suggesting in the prime of his career that he might not play golf for another 15 years at the highest level of the PGA Tour and the major championships. So what about his honesty? Where do you come down on that part? Because I have a feeling, but I want your opinion out there first on Scheffler being that honest.
Well, A.J. Brown of the Eagles also said something similar after the Eagles won the Super Bowl. He was like, I thought it was going to be more than this. Like, now what? I feel that this is something. Like, I do feel the reality of you work your ass off. Your whole life is dedicated to this. One day you win. 15 minutes later or whatever it is, an hour, 3 hours later, you're in your car, you're driving home, and life continues. Like the euphoria of winning, how long does it last, and what does it mean to each of these individual people? Because you are now put right back on the expectation list of having to do it again. So how fast does the Super Bowl, the World Series, go out the window? Because the fans the next year, the Eagles won the Super Bowl famously in 2017. They got booed in the first half of the game of the 2018 season because they weren't playing well in the first half. So, these athletes are like, hey, I've worked my whole life from Little League, high school, to try to get Division I. And this is where the whole sports thing is really hitting a crossroads for me. We are pushing these kids at younger and younger ages to try to get a scholarship and get to the pros. And it's like, now, what is the satisfaction of making it there? That when you get there, you're not satisfied. Your whole life they're doing travel baseball tournaments for 8-year-olds. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Crazy.
There should be no travel baseball for anybody until you're like 15 years old. Nobody cares what you do when you're a 12-year-old kid playing 49 games in a summertime.
You're in that world. You know what that's about. It's about a money-making thing for the adults that are involved. That's what it's about. It's not for the good of the kids. You're absolutely right. So you work with your kids, and I'm just interested in how much do they really care about winning all this versus having fun, doing something they enjoy, being around their friends, their teammates, when they are teenagers, when they're in middle school, when they're a freshman in high school. That's not the same as Division I sports, much less the pros.
Well, here is what is lost. And Scheffler's making an interesting point, and it ties to you play in some battle by the beach ball baseball tournament on a weekend. You play 6 games. You lose. The kids don't care because they're just playing in the Battle by the Bay the next weekend. And if you lose, well, guess what, guys? We're going to play in the Battle by the Ocean next weekend. The impact of the loss is no longer there because when you lose, you can just pay to play again the next weekend. As long as you have the money, playing another tournament, playing another tournament, playing another tournament. And it's like the pro players are saying, I've won the tournament, but now I have to play in another tournament the next weekend. All of it is tied to the culture of if you win this weekend, that doesn't really matter because you have to play in a tournament again the next weekend. And it's all just creating revenue for somebody else.
And Scheffler brought that up, that as soon as he won the PGA Championship, that in the press conference right after it, it became, can you win the U.S. Open? Because he's not won the U.S. Open. And it was almost like, can I just enjoy the fact that I just won another major championship? And he's literally finished in the top 10, I believe, of every tournament he's entered for the last 2 seasons. He's been in the top 10, if not winning, every tournament. So I get where he's coming from. I get that this isn't the most important thing, and he's now got tens of millions of dollars. And the one other point for what we do in sports media, there is refreshing honesty. How many times do we want to criticize coaches, players, athletes, whomever, for not being honest? cliche answers. Don't say anything. I'm just here to help the team. Or, it's just a pleasure to be here and do this. Or I'm going to try my best today and give it all for the fans. All the cliche stock answers that you hear. Now you have someone being honest. And I'm watching Mike Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser on Pardon the Interruption go on and on about how this is terrible for professional golf and professional tour because the number one player acts like he doesn't care.
Yeah.
I mean, now we want to kill him for being too honest, Mike Gill.
I 100% and I think sports is getting to a point, we talk about this a lot because it's like the Ricky Bobby rules. If you're not first, you're last. So if you don't win the championship, nobody cares. It's
right.
Well, we're in first. The Phillies are in first place here in Philadelphia. They're in first place, and all anybody does every day is bitch and moan that they don't have a good bullpen and they don't have enough offense. It's like, well, you're in first place. What does that say about the other
like Kansas
teams?
City right now. They didn't beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl, so somehow they've been a recent failure after all the wins, after all the Super Bowl championships, and it's the expectation. But in individual sports, whether you're talking about golf or tennis, we got boxing this weekend, huge boxing pay-per-view involving Hall of Famer Manny Pacquiao. Those are individual sports. It's only you. Well, you're hitting a guy and a guy's hitting you. But in tennis, you're hitting the ball. In golf, you're hitting the ball. There's not a teammate that does it for you. I can understand where after a while you say, is this all there is? If you've attained big success, big dollars and fame, you want to have a family, you want to have a life, and that's a bigger priority for some. Not for everybody.
And it's, it's everything. It's, in the team sport where – it's never good enough. If you don't win a championship, you sucked. It's never good enough. Everything is, you're Tom Thibodeau. You got your team to the Eastern Conference Finals, you're fired. All of this, it is really concerning that sports is getting to a level. Look at the college thing. We're watching college football is getting ready to start in a couple of weeks. You have no idea what guys are on what team. They're going all over the place because it's just, hey, how much money can I make? How much money can I make? And it was all supposed to be, I played youth football. I played high school football to get a Division I scholarship. I understand the whole payment thing. But I think when you entered that into the mix, it just added another layer of not caring about the result and only caring about yourself.
But Scheffler, again, is a family guy. Those images of his little toddler son sitting in the scoring area after he had won the PGA championship with him. He's got different priorities, and good for him. He's not the first, nor will he be the last, that ascended a mountain in individual sports and said, is this really all there is? Other than that, listen, we've been here for a little bit on this show. I think we've pretty well covered the sports media topics. Is there anything else that you wanted to get off your chest, from All-Star Game to ratings? We covered the WNBA, the Fox Sports 1 lineup shakeup, Scottie Scheffler being too honest. Pick a lane. Do you want them to give us honesty? I do. Pick a lane. Don't kill them for being honest if they're being honest.
We're never happy. Never. It's if you win a championship, when's the next championship? If you don't win the championship, why can't you win the championship?
I love Scott Frost at the Big 12 Media Days last week, who's now back at Central Florida, UCF, when he went to his alma mater, Nebraska, and was a failure. He left UCF in the first place. Back to your alma mater and restore Nebraska. It didn't work. He got fired. They were bad. He's now back at Central Florida at UCF. They asked him, what do you have when you look back on this? What do you think of it? And what do you have to say about it? He says, don't take the wrong job for the wrong reasons. I took the wrong job going to Nebraska, to my alma mater. They aren't ready to win. There's too much for me as a guy that played there. I love the honesty. 100%. I love the honesty rather than the deflect the question. So
look, we have the thing here in Philly right now. Dave Dombrowski, he's a Hall of Fame GM. The move he made this offseason is Max Kepler. Max Kepler stinks. He got $10 million to come here for 1 year. Now he's a platoon player. He's hitting .202 with a .300 on-base percentage. He stinks. So then he complains, and he says, well, I was promised that I would get to play every day, and it's tough when you're not playing every day. Well, guess what? You should have looked around the lineup and said, this lineup's too left-handed to put me in that lineup, but you wanted the $10 million. So guess what, buddy? You reap what you sow.
And if you're not delivering when you get the opportunity, what grounds figuratively do you have to stand on that I should be playing more? It's one thing if you're doing exceptionally well and they're not playing you, but I get that. I think we're good for this edition Good luck to your team, your
real
youth
quick,
baseball team.
Real quick, we have one more thing that the March Madness. They're talking about extending the field, which I am really against. But I did have an idea that we might have talked about on this show a while back of expanding the idea. I hate the idea of expanding the tournament, but if you're going to do it, whatever they're talking about, stupid idea. Listen to my idea. It would be better. But
so
the networks don't want it. The networks don't want it.
Currently, they are talking about expanding by at least 4 teams for the NCAA men's and women's tournaments. They would go from 68 teams to 72. It may go as high as 76 teams, 8 more. But CBS and Turner, who have an ironclad agreement with the NCAA, apparently are not interested in this. Do you have it real quick before we leave that Rachel Bachman of the Wall Street Journal broke the story basically on Monday that what is at issue here, what a tactic that the NCAA is using is they want to offer to Turner and CBS, you can use beer, liquor, and wine sponsors on the NCAA tournament games, which I believe they've been allowing like Bud Light or something. Maybe I'm wrong on NCAA tournament games. But Rachel Bachman reported that the NCAA is basically giving a green light to CBS and Turner that if you add more games to the NCAA tournament, more teams will let you have a Jim Beam advertisement or some Robert Diaby or whatever Mondavi.
Well, I can tell you
ad on the basketball that beer and liquor sponsors may be the key to tournament expansion before it's over with, Mike Gill.
I can tell you, we carry the Westwood One radio feed, and they do a great job. But one of the problems is you can't sell it to gambling apps. You can't sell beer, wine, liquor. You can't put those commercials in the game. And right now, in any media space, who's the advertisers? It's gambling apps. It's beer. It's wine. It's liquor. It's sad. It's sad. It's sad. It's sad. But it's a vice that they're trying to sell. Now, if you are CBS and Turner, are you that moved by the fact that you can add liquor into the advertising to add more games to the schedule? I'm surprised, quite frankly, I'm surprised that they don't want to add more games.
Well, what they are saying is currently less is more in terms of the inventory. You already have 67 games over the course of the 3 weeks, the 3 weekends. And they have ironclad deals that do not have outs for the NCAA. The NCAA can't get out of it till 2032. So we're talking about 7 years from now. They can't get out of it. So this is the offer that's out there. If we allow you to make several $100 million with booze, Mike Gill, would you give us more games for the NCAA tournament? The answer is not no yet. It's not no. Let's stay tuned as the summer progresses here, because they've got to make a decision coming up here in about the next 30 days or so on would they expand for the 2026 tournaments. And again, it would be the men's tournament and the women's tournament. They would expand both of them. Much bigger deal for the men. But stay tuned. Booze could be the reason, Mike Gill. I think that's a good way to end on the pod. Anything else?
I'm sure there's plenty, but we've been here plenty long.
And you got the Sports Bash coming up weekday afternoons, 2 to 6 Eastern time on Atlantic City's ESPN radio affiliate, 97.3 ESPN. Follow him at Mike Gill Show. Follow me at Buck Sideline Guy. Thank you for finding us on the social media and YouTube version, and also on podcast as well, Apple, Spreaker, Spotify. It is the last word on sports, media, show, and podcast.